This whole strive for perfection, right, that women do, this is really our downfall. We want to be perfect at work, perfect at home, perfect mother, perfect wife, perfect daughter-in-law, perfect boss, perfect colleague. Perfect is the enemy of good. In India, where there's a 6 months paid maternity leave and there's a 0 paid paternity leave, what is the message that we're sending out to people? We're telling them that the baby is born to a mother and not to parents.
After that LinkedIn post, I am connected with so many working mothers across the globe. And now I talk about our stories and I hear, अच्छा उनका भी experience ऐसा है, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But sometimes in our own home, it's not okay.
You have conversations, difficult conversations with your husband that, look, I really value my work as well. You might think I'm not earning as much as you are. That does not mean my work is not as important.
I had no realization कि 46,000 mothers messaging me, and then I realized that we have a bigger community out there. 81% of women want to
get back to work, but they don't know how. Instead of being proud that oh मेरे घर की बहू को काम करने की जरूरत नहीं है, we should be proud कि मेरे घर की बहू देखो क्या क्या कर रही है.
81% of Indian women want to get back to work, and yet they can't. So what's the problem? Our guest is looking to answer exactly that. I would like to welcome Neha Bagaria on the Neon Show. I would also like to thank our sponsors Prime Venture Partners for sponsoring the Neon Show. Hope you enjoy this conversation. Hi Neha, welcome to the Neon Show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me here.
I'm super excited to have this conversation with you because I have waited so long to have this kind of conversation and I have so many things to talk about, and so thank you so much for joining us today.
Great, I'm pumped too.
So Neha, I was going through your LinkedIn before having this conversation and I noticed that you mentioned on your LinkedIn that you took a 3-year break, and you mentioned not just about the break, you also mentioned that you learned many skills during that break. One of them is perseverance, multitasking, and you could see life in a different way. It was unusual for me to see those skills there. Can you please tell me more about that?
Yeah, of course. Frankly, that's the problem, that we women, sometimes we don't realize the kind of variant of multiple skills that you bring to the table, and which has a lot to do with our life experiences. Yeah, of course there's a lot you learn thanks to your education, your work experience, etc. But the stuff that you learn from your life experience, we don't boast about it. And I think, for example, motherhood was a great example, and that is why I made it a point to add that to my LinkedIn profile, because the skills that I learned in motherhood is what's serving me well as an entrepreneur today. And in fact, on the Herky platform, that's why when we get women to fill out their profiles, we call it the Profile Plus. Because we tell women that, it's not enough for a woman to just talk about her education and work experience. She must talk about her life experience and talk about the skills that you learned from your life experience. Don't think about it as a handicap. It's absolutely not a handicap that, hey, you took some time off because you needed to be there for your family, for example, or you needed to be there for some health reason. All those life experiences have taught you something, and boast about it on your profile, boast about it in an interview.
All these moms have the phase is common for all of us, right? So certainly we all learn these skills. I can't imagine a mother who is not an expert in multitasking.
Yes.
I can't imagine. But then why it's so difficult for them to get an opportunity when they get out of
but the thing is, one thing that we've realized that every woman on a break has in common is that she loses her confidence. Yeah, and the reason why you lose your confidence is, one, you feel like you've been transported to a different world, a different sphere altogether, where, the conversation around you now, if you look at motherhood, for example, if you're a full-time mom, the conversation around you when you're a full-time mom is all about kids and nannies and mother-in-laws.
और वहाँ पे भी आपको थोड़ा सा वैसा ही फील कराया जाता है कि नहीं आ रहा है, तुम्हें ये भी करना नहीं आ रहा है.
I know, that's true. Okay, you constantly feel like you're not getting it.
एक ही काम कर रहे हैं, मतलब वो एक काम लगता है, उसमें बहुत सारे काम होते हैं, बट ऐसा फील कराते हैं कि वो एक काम है, वो भी नहीं हो रहा है तुमसे.
And the thing is that motherhood is very physically and emotionally stimulating, but it's not intellectually stimulating. Yeah, and it's so time consuming that it's not like you are able to spend enough time in being intellectually stimulated. Like for example, most women will lose touch with all their former colleagues, because here you would rather spend time with moms who are talking about which nappy is best for your child versus talk to your future former colleague about derivative trading. Right? You just feel like that world was a different world altogether, and now you're in a different world. And that's why when you decide to get back into that world, you feel that, okay, you know what, that world has moved on without you and you can't catch up. And this really creates a big lack of confidence, especially also because everybody around you tells you, Arey, how will you get back to work? Are you sure you'll be able to get back to work? Do you need to get back to work? And you start doubting yourself. And when you start doubting yourself, you forget that, hey, one, I already have a lot of those skills that companies are looking for, right? Because what you had gained in the past doesn't go away. Yeah, it's just lying dormant. You just need to turn the light switch on again. Second, you have picked up new skills. And that is something, like the combination of your old skills plus these new skills, plus then you can reskill into whatever new technologies have impacted your work. It's all at your fingertips. So, which is why it was very important to change the narrative when it came to women returnees and to make them realize that, hey, you know what? Don't knock on the door trying to justify your break. Okay, knock on the door telling them that I took this break, being proud of your break. There's a lot that we need to change from a point of view of how society sees mothers. Yeah, I mean, like in India, we're so used to like idolizing women, saying that, oh, Lakshmi Ma and Saraswati Ma, so you're either goddesses or then you're this Abla Nari, who needs a like knight in shining armor to come and rescue her, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
We need to stop both extremes.
Yeah.
And we need to normalize, and like you're talking about it, we need to mainstream this. Like so usually it's just a man's career which is a mainstream career, so you expect that the career graph will be just like this. Yeah, a woman's career graph is usually like this. Yeah, and so when that happens, you're just like, is she actually serious about her work? Or is she actually going to be able to grow in her career? Or when a recruiter sees that break, they're like, but I've been told to find somebody who's doing this in this particular company list. She's on a break. I don't know what to do with the resume. So as soon as we start mainstreaming career breaks, more and more people will feel comfortable about it. And they'll be more open to talking about it and getting back to work. Frankly, I foresee the day will be when men will feel comfortable to take career breaks. Because frankly, it sucks. It's so sad that they are not getting to experience some of these life's greatest joys. I always find the answer in economics, frankly. Okay. At the end of the day, it's first of all demand and supply. Yeah. Now, when it comes to motherhood, we don't care, okay, because it's such an emotional work that we do that no matter who else is going to do it, as long as that baby has those needs, the mother will be there and do it. Yeah. So which means that you're not putting up any sort of a price for doing that work, right? Take it for granted. Yeah. This is your work. Also now, if you have policies like in India where there's a 6 months paid maternity leave and there's a 0 paid paternity leave, what is the message that we're sending out to people? We are telling them that the baby is born to a mother and not to parents. Yeah, so as soon as the baby is brought into the world, it is a mother's job to take care of the child. And the father का तो, I mean, मौका ही नहीं मिलता है, क्योंकि उसको leave भी नहीं मिलने वाली है, okay, to take care of the child. Even if he wants to. Yeah, that he doesn't even have the option. So from the beginning, it becomes the mother's job. That's not a surprise that like 80% of caretaking responsibilities in India are borne by the woman and not by the man. Yeah. So now, one, the bulk of that load is sitting on that woman's shoulders. Two, she doesn't get paid for it. And yes, where economics and monetary policy comes into place, right? If it is unpaid work, it will not be valued work. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, वो उन लोग का जो काम था, उससे पैसा घर में आ रहा है. So that work is very important. It's important for the family's economics. Yeah. Ye kaam se, there's no monetary benefit from it. It's something that is taken for granted ki maa to karegi.
I was not part of any mom circle because I thought, because I was part of Baby Gogo, so I had all kind of knowledge ki kya diaper lena hai, kya nahi lena hai. And I was bored of those conversations, so I never joined any app for that reason. And I was also living with my mother-in-law, so I thought I'll manage. But then I'm the first one from my batch who became a mother, right? and I shifted to a new city, and I don't have many friends here. And when I needed the need of friends, felt the need of friends, I didn't have time. Kabir was already there in my life, so I didn't have anyone who had similar kind of experience. So when I became part of these groups, I am part of that female founder group. I am now part of, like, after that LinkedIn post, I am connected with so many working mothers across the globe, not just in India. And now I talk about our stories, and I hear, acha, unka bhi experience aisa hai. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But sometimes in our own home, it's not okay. And you have to spend so much time in home only for stay-at-home moms or moms who work from home. I think वो बहुत बड़ी population है जो घर से काम कर रही हैं, उनके लिए अभी भी okay नहीं हुआ है.
But we have to take the ownership of changing that also. Yeah, I don't think we need to think about ourselves as a victim ki it's not okay at home and so it sucks, and oh no, what are we going to do? We have to take the onus of making that change as well. Yeah, and that will start with having lots of difficult conversations. Yeah, you need to have the difficult conversation with your mother-in-law that just because I'm working from home doesn't mean I can answer the doorbell every time it rings. Yeah, or if guests suddenly pop in at home, I can't leave my work and go and make chai and then entertain them. Okay, you do have conversations, difficult conversations with your husband. Yeah, that look, I really value my work as well. You might think I'm not earning as much as you are. That does not mean my work is not as important as yours is. Okay, you do have the difficult conversation with your child that I know you would love for me to come and pick you up from school, but mama has a job. Okay,
I think that's the most difficult part.
It is a very difficult conversation. And you need to have a difficult conversation with yourself.
Yes.
That I am not a bad mother, I'm not a bad wife, I'm not a bad daughter-in-law just because I'm not there at the beck and call of these other people in the house. Yeah. And you got to also have a difficult conversation with yourself saying that it will be worth it one day.
Yep.
It will be difficult during this entire time, but it will be worth it one day.
I think we all do that at some point in time. We do that. We do have that kind of conversation with our in-laws or with our...
No, most women shy from it. Okay, because most women are trying to be the good girl. Yeah, where you're not supposed to answer back to authority or to people who you're supposed to show a lot of respect to, especially in-laws, right? I mean, what they feel and think are supposed to be the most important. And then they feel that they're being bad and they're being wrong by voicing their needs and their ambitions. And that the fact that they have an ambition itself, they feel is a bad thing. And that is why it's very important for them to realize that no, they need to put themselves in front as well. It's like that, that popular saying that put your own oxygen mask on first before you put on the oxygen mask for others.
So what's the balance? Good girl, bad girl?
First of all, this whole strive for perfection, right, that women do, this is really our downfall. Okay, we want to be perfect at work, perfect at home, perfect mother, perfect wife, perfect daughter-in-law, perfect boss, perfect colleague. Perfect is the enemy of good. Yeah, sometimes good is just good enough. And we should be comfortable with that. Yeah, that yes, I might not be able to, help my child with his studies for his exams. Yeah, the way other moms are doing it. But am I there for him in terms of any emotional support he needs? That's good enough.
Or maybe we are working and they are watching us working so hard and there is some kind of learning happening there also.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, kids, they will listen to very little of what you say.
Yeah.
But they're watching everything that you do. And if you want your child, and especially your daughter, to one day have a successful career, then god damn it, you do it too.
Indra Nooyi mentioned in one interview that for women who are in their mid-20s or women who are in their 30s or till early 40s, for them, biological clock is ticking. Career clock is ticking. Too much pressure. So many self-doubts. How do you deal with that? How do you see that?
Yeah. No, I mean, this is a law of nature. Yeah, there's no going away from the fact that, yes, the biological clock and the career clock coincides for a woman. But again, who defines that career clock? Yeah, this whole pressure of 30 under 30 and 40 under 40. Who cares? Okay, age is just a number. So, sure, if at a particular age of your life you feel that you need to prioritize on your family and your kids, do it. Okay, your career can still be there. It doesn't have to go away. All these breaks can be just a pause in your career. It doesn't have to be a full stop. Finally, any person's career usually spans from when they are 20 to 65 at least. That's 45 years. In the middle, if you have, say, 2-3 years off when when motherhood hits or marriage hits or mobility hits or medical care hits, it's okay. That doesn't mean that your career has to come to a full stop.
So you're saying that yes, for us, biological clock is ticking, but you don't have to think that
that your career clock will go away.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, again, that career clock was set according to the career of a man. A woman can have a very different career clock. Yeah, and let's redefine the career clock. We can't redefine the biological clock. Yeah. That we know. Yeah. So let's redefine the career clock.
Makes a lot of sense. And Neha, you're so fierce. You speak so well. You are working for all these women who, return to work after becoming a mom, and you actually made a difference in all of these women. And I'm curious to know about your story. Maybe about, if you can share about your childhood, or when you were growing up, what was your mother doing, what kind of life she was living, and how did you see all of those things?
Sure. I mean, so I actually hail from a typical Marwari business family. Yeah, and growing up, I saw my dad working all the time, and my mom was a complete full-time mother, and she really devoted her life to her children and her home. And yet, as I grew up, I wanted more of the respect that my dad garnered versus the love that my mom garnered. Yeah, and I saw that huge difference, okay, between in how they were viewed. And I always felt that it was such a thankless job that my mom did. We actually owe our lives to her. My brother and I definitely owe everything to her. But she felt so underappreciated. That one day when we grew up and we flew the nest, it was so difficult for her at that time. Versus for my dad, not much changed, right? He was working before that and he continued working after that. Finally, thanks to my Jobsaher journey, I was able to convince my mom, and on her 60th birthday, she started her own career.
Wow.
And she's been an incredible artist her entire life, but she always painted only as a hobby. And then finally, one day I managed, actually after years of convincing her and persuading her, finally on her 60th birthday, she had her first art exhibition at the Jahangir Art Gallery and was sold out. And since then, she's a different person. She's exhibited all over the world. In fact, right now, her paintings have just left for Art Basel, which is in Miami.
That's so amazing. Do you think it could have happened?
Of course, it could have started. She could have started off her career 20 years earlier than she did.
Like, क्या नहीं था उस time पर ऐसा?
The confidence. Yeah, so the confidence that first of all, the confidence that she can build a career. I don't even think that the thought struck her, that she should also think about building her career. So again, because societal expectations were not that, right? The societal expectations were that she should be managing her house and her family really, really well. And she did a bloody well job at it. Oh my God.
I can see that.
No, even like the house, right? It's impeccable. Everything is always in the right place. She's she's done the advanced courses of Ikebana flower arrangement.
Wow.
She's an incredibly amazing cook, all of that. Whatever she did to perfection. But career was something just never even a possibility in her mind. Even though, by the way, when she was bringing me up, she kept telling me that you need to do really well in your studies. You need to work really hard because you need to be financially independent in life. So the aspiration she had for her daughter, she just didn't have for herself.
You have worked with Herky for last more than 8 years, and you have worked with all these women. So I may be wrong here, but I had no idea about these platforms, and it's very recent for me. And I found it difficult to get into these groups. Maybe I had work, so I didn't feel like getting enrolled on platforms like Harki, so I missed that opportunity to connect with these women. But I was missing having a circle in my life, and I think it makes a lot of change in
Yeah,
your
that's what
life.
we're changing. Yeah, because frankly, everybody needs that positive support system around her. Yeah, and you need, so the platform that we're building at Turkey, there are three main pillars. There's the opportunities, which is your jobs. Okay, because at the end of the day, we need to make sure there are enough jobs and enough companies are opening up the doors for women. Then there's learning, okay, so that women are making sure that they're reskilling themselves, they're upskilling themselves, gaining the confidence that they need. And this third piece is actually the most critical piece, which is a community, okay, where women can find other like-minded women, can find women who will be able to constantly give them that positive reinforcement, and also women who've already been there, done that, so that other women can learn from their journeys as well.
Right. And I want to share one more example with you. I mentioned that I didn't have friends with whom I could share about the struggles I was having that time. So Kabir was around 1 year old, and I decided that I would make a routine for myself, and I'll start with 3-4 hours maybe. And I informed everyone in my family that I am not available during these hours. And since morning, I'll start singing कि माँ 2 से 5 या 2 से 6 आई एम गोइंग आउटसाइड, और मेरा आज एक कैफ़े में बैठ के काम करने का प्लान है, एक कैबिन ले लिया है, और आज आपको कबीर को देखना है, आपको जो काम करना है पहले कर लो, बाद में कर लो. और आई वुड आस्क सिद्धार्थ की थोड़ा 1 घंटा
see, you also asking another woman in the house only.
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
see that.
So it was my first day of working in a co-work, and I posted this, I shared this post on LinkedIn that I'm working, I have made a routine for myself that I work 4 hours and I have no other option, and this is the only option, but I won't disappoint my mother because she has worked really hard to help me reach here, and I don't want to waste or whatever it was. I just shared that post and it got massive traction, and it was, I think I was regular on LinkedIn, but I shared that post बहुत gap के बाद में. So I didn't check LinkedIn because I was not active. So there was no expectation कि कुछ like वाइक आने वाले हैं. ऐसा होता है, then you keep checking कि अच्छा आज कितने like है. I was like ठीक है, बंद कर दो फ़ोन और बाकी काम में लगे. And then I had Kabir, so I forgot about that post. And then people started calling me, my relatives, कि your post is going viral. And so many mothers started reaching out to me, and they started sharing their stories with me, and that I was so pumped up. I was like ठीक है अब तो मेरे को and they were asking for advice and for help also, and I was like I have to help all of them, and how can I help? And then I couldn't help because I still had limited time to work for my work, but I was like how can I, क्या ऐसी चीज़ है जिसमें बहुत कम एफर्ट लगेगा, और at least I'm not disappeared from that platform, at least I'm not setting an example. I didn't want to do any ehsan on them कि हाँ ठीक है I'm doing it for them, but there was something in my mind कि ठीक है क्या ऐसा कर सकते हैं कि ठीक है अगर मेरे पास अभी कम टाइम है, but they see me as an example that she is working, we will too.
Yeah.
And I started sharing my I started sharing my stories on LinkedIn. And then what happened? I thought that I would help them, but they started helping me because they were coming back to me कि अभी हम भी काम कर रहे हैं और ये काम किया. So they became my inspiration that बहुत सारे लोग हैं, and I had no realization कि 46,000 mothers messaging me, and somebody's congratulating me, somebody's sharing story, and then I realized that we have a bigger community out
and it's
there.
called pay it forward, right?
Yeah.
Each one of us has to pay it forward.
Yeah.
Okay, because somebody during our time, somebody has helped us, somebody has supported us,
Yeah.
somebody has given us that confidence, that push, that motivation. Now we have to pay it forward for other women.
Yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes, Neha, like since then, it's been I think more than 3 years I have been posting about working women, because that's the only thing I am experiencing right now, or I have that kind of routine, you can say. But there are people who think that I'm discouraging stay-at-home moms, or they think that I'm anti men because I'm not. I'm like, how can I support all of these people?
It's very easy to observe her at Turkey. We have one of our values. Okay, we have 10 commandments, 10 values. One of our values is be pro-women but not anti-men. They are completely different things. Okay, we can all be pro-women. Even men can be pro-women. Yeah, because that is what is needed. That's where the big gap is. That doesn't mean we're anti-men. Frankly, like we've been discussing, if women succeed in their careers, the biggest beneficiaries will be the men. The men will benefit from being their colleagues, from being their bosses, from being their husbands, from being their fathers, from being their friends. Okay, so this is not a female versus male battle. This is actually a journey that both have to have together. And it's also not a battle between stay-at-home moms and working moms, okay?
Yes.
Or stay-at-home women and working women, because frankly, most working women also have been through those journeys already. Yeah.
Absolutely.
तो आज working woman है, कल stay-at-home woman हो जाएगी. Who knows?
हाँ, मतलब ऐसा कुछ teams नहीं है कि यार
Absolutely.
we are
because
different
it's
and we are
all just
different.
different phases of the same journey.
And we somewhere want all these women to be part of workforce.
Absolutely, because frankly, the
that's
country
why
also
we are-
needs it. The
Yes.
country needs it. If we really want to grow, okay, and become the biggest GDP that we can be, our women can't be left behind.
And I think I read it on your website only, Harki's website. 81% of women want to
Yes, want to get back to work, but they don't know how.
I think, but success of Meesho and Meesho is there, Urban Clap is there. We have more platforms like these. They have shown
Yeah,
that
there's power.
women actually want
Correct.
to work. They just don't have
Yeah,
opportunities.
yeah. The kind of untapped talent pool that our country has is incredible.
And it actually connects all the dots. Like, I have a busy schedule that I can't go to the parlor every twice a month. I can't go because जैसे मेरा काम खत्म होता है, Kabir is already waiting for
Yeah,
me.
yes. First shift is over, second shift is
Second.
waiting. Yes.
मतलब ऐसा लगता है कि बस switch करना है और वो है वहाँ पर.
Yeah.
और तब तो because he's been waiting for like throughout the day, he's angry, upset with me. So अभी छोटा है तो मेरे साथ पार्लर भी नहीं जाएगा. तो I have built a support system for myself.
Correct.
I have my fixed person on Urban Company, and she comes and she's also in that stage.
Yeah, wow, it's amazing. And you will understand, you can relate to what she's also going through.
Yeah. She's like, मैं पहले सुबह का खाना बनाती हूँ और
Right.
मेरा हस्बैंड 1 बजे आता है. जब 1 बजे आके वो घर पे मेरे बच्चे के साथ होता है, मेरी शिफ्ट 2 बजे शुरू होती है और मैं रात के 10
That's
तक काम करती हूँ.
Fantastic. That is
And
fantastic.
it's so inspiring.
That's what they have figured it out. See,
Yeah.
they have figured it out. So usually also the other problem that happens again in economics, boiling down to economics, is that usually the more affluent a family becomes in India, the lower the chances that women working. Okay. Because then they start feeling ki zarurat kya hai. There's no need to work. Yeah. Usually if a family needs the double income, they will figure it out. Yeah. The whole family will support that woman's career. The husband will support the woman's career because wo paisa chahiye. There's no other way. Yeah. But as soon as the husband's doing very well in the career, no, suddenly then they'll be like, acha, ye kyun kaam kar rahi hai? Or it also becomes a status symbol in India. Ki, oh, my wife doesn't need to work, or my daughter-in-law doesn't need to work. Yeah. This is that mindset change that we need to do. That instead of being proud that, oh, मेरे घर की बहू को काम करने की जरूरत नहीं है, we should be proud कि मेरे घर की बहू देखो क्या क्या कर रही है.
I think this is one of the reasons why women participation is much better in rural areas
Absolutely.
than in urban
Yeah.
areas. Because there they have to work. They are not thinking about these things. They are not looking for solutions. They have to do
Yeah.
it.
And so overall, women participation in the Indian workforce is 20%. In urban India, it's 15%. And this is where your educated, qualified women are sitting.
And I think it breaks my heart to see that there are women who are, well deserving. Like, they have that kind of education background. They have that kind of, they have skills or whatever you call to, whatever is required to be there in the workforce participation. They want to work. They are not allowed.
Yeah, absolutely. But all that's what. Again, economics. As soon as we make the
But how do you
family
change
realize,
that?
but as soon as you make the family, so COVID really helped in changing that, for example. Yeah, because a lot of these sole breadwinners who were the men, a lot of them lost their jobs. And suddenly, the economics became a big problem, right, in the home. Suddenly, families started realizing that, oh my God, we better figure this out.
मतलब एक पूरी इतनी महामारी लग रही है एक रियलाइज कराने के लिए ये
Yeah,
चीज.
but because also the generations say, this is not going to be an overnight change, okay? I mean, in the 8 years that I've been running this company, we've seen so much change, but usko bahut push karna pada hai, yeah? And nothing has happened overnight. Luckily, the pandemic was like a watershed moment though, Yeah, because when the pandemic happened, suddenly families realized that we can't rely on only one breadwinner in the house. We have another qualified, skilled talent sitting at home. Maybe we should support her career also. Maybe she can also get the double income into the family. Also, companies realize that, because there was this huge war for talent that happened during the pandemic. So they realize that if we want to win this war for talent, we can't not access 50% of the talent pool. We have to figure out a way that our workplace has to be much more women friendly. Yeah, how do we get more women back? How do we get women to stay? How do we get women to rise in their careers? So the kind of efforts that we are seeing companies put in to actually look at recruitment, retention, advancement for women, we've never seen it happen before as we're seeing it now. And it's not just, earlier it was usually just the large MNCs that were driving this change. Now it's like every Indian company also, SMEs, startups, all of them are coming to us and talking to us that how do we get more women in and how do we get more women to stay and rise.
That's amazing. And that's not because we have, there are many companies or organizations who do it for the sake of diversity. They're not doing it for the sake of diversity.
So first of all, diversity is very good for business. Yeah. So diversity is a very important reason to do it also, because frankly, if you don't have diversity, that means you're not getting diverse perspectives. You're not getting diverse skills. And if your consumer base is diverse, your employee base also needs to be. Yeah. Like think about it. FMCG companies, for example, 80% of people who they are selling to are women. 80% of their employees are men. Does it make sense? Okay, you need more women in to be able to create products that other women will consume, to market to other women, to sell to other women, or to communicate and service other women, right? So it's just, again, so as soon as we make companies realize that diversity helps the bottom line, suddenly there's huge buy-in.
What's that one advice you would want to share for all these women like me, like you, or we have so many women out there? They are doing amazingly well in their career. They still feel guilty.
They say that show me a woman without any guilt and I'll show you a man instead. Once you're aware of that, we can also learn how to deal with it. Okay? And instead of constantly trying to fight it, we need to realize that it's there, but it doesn't have to own us. Yeah, it can kind of be at the back of our heads and let it be at the back of our minds. And frankly, sometimes use it to your advantage. Okay, because we feel that little guilt, maybe it'll make us a better mother. Maybe we'll try harder and be there for that child's, concert where he's participating for 2 minutes and you have to sit through for 2 hours. But because of that nagging guilt, you'll be there and that'll be nice. That'll be good for you and for your child. Because you feel that little guilt, you'll put in those extra hours that your work requires, that your job requires. Because say during the day you have to attend that concert. Yeah. So you have to make up for it at night. Everybody's gone to sleep. You've put in those couple of hours. Yeah. So use that guilt to your advantage. Instead of constantly fighting against it and feeling that don't let it destroy you. You instead make it your weapon.
So the first step is break free from denial.
Yeah, absolutely. Become comfortable with it.
Don't think I'm doing fine, everything is okay.
Yeah, no, somebody actually gave me this advice when I was starting, and I went to her and I went to so many people, right, for mentorship and advice when I was starting. And I told her that I really need to figure out how to get over this guilt before I start because, I have to help other women get over it. And she said, 1 second, calm down. She said, first of all, this is not some pill that you can take and overnight be done with the guilt. Yeah, this is a journey and you will learn how to deal with it. This is, I don't think the goal has to be how to forever be rid of it. I think the goal has to be how to deal with it and how to use it to your advantage.
This makes so much sense.
I hope you use that also now. Because it has helped me so much. And this thing that you talked about, how when I started, I wanted to help all the women out there. Yes. And then over time I realized that they were helping me. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. It's only when I actually started hearing their stories and listening to so many inspirational journeys of different women, I learned so much from their journeys. And that's what helped me overcome my guilt and my fear and, my lack of confidence.
Because I think what happens, आप लाइफ में लार्ज पर्पस के लिए तो तैयार होते हो कि ठीक है मेरे को अपनी कंपनी को इस लेवल तक लेके जाना है. ठीक है, मेरे को इतने लोग हायर करने हैं, इतनी बैंडविड्थ चाहिए और ये स्पॉन्सर्स लाने हैं और या 1 ईयर में ये चीज़ें करनी है. What's most difficult is fighting the daily battles.
Yeah.
And for that, you need people telling you or showing you that it'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll take time, it'll happen, it's okay. I'm also doing this. थोड़ा ये कर लो, ये कर लो, ये कर लो, हो जाएगा.
And it's all fine.
Yeah. So I think hearing that makes us feel much better about the journey and the struggles, right?
Yeah.
Neha, I think everyone needs to hear this, especially our audience. What are the fields where women are topping? Like you mentioned in one of your posts, STEM. Yeah, so what are the fields where women are doing amazingly well and we don't know about those fields, like science, technology, and what are other fields?
First of all, there's no field that women are not topping in.
There are no fields.
There is no field that women are not topping in.
I was reading your post that we have so many science and,
and
technology graduates
you
in
take any
India.
field and you will find some spectacular women in it. Okay, I mean, look at the recent Chandrayaan mission that went out there. There have never been more women in space in India than there have been right now. Yeah, at a time when we've had our biggest success, okay, the kind of women who have backed that success is extremely amazing. And earlier, many people would have thought that this is not a job for her. Yeah, you look at pilots. Yeah, earlier people used to only think woman means air hostess, can't be a pilot. You look at surgeons. You look at civil engineers. You look at semiconductor industry. Okay, sure, in some fields there'll be less percentage of women in that, because traditionally, again, there were all these biases where women were told that this is not the right field for you, you know. But now all those biases are being broken, and companies are actually doing a lot to make sure that, so wherever there is less pipeline of women, they are actually retraining women and getting them interested in these other fields. Yeah. So for example, you know, somebody I know very well, she got into MIT for her undergraduate. And brilliant, absolutely brilliant, right, to get into MIT. But when she was selecting her major, her dad suggested, she wanted to do mechanical engineering. But her dad said, mechanical engineering is not the right field for a woman. You should do architecture instead. Now, again, who says which field is the right field for a woman? Yeah, at the end of the day, anything that woman has the aptitude for is the right field for her. So, for example, there was also a study that said that why are there not that many women surgeons? And some people thought it's because of the long hours that surgeons have to put. You have to be at the beck and call. Anytime you might be called in, you know, so that's not the right job for a woman. Guess who's standing side by side with those surgeons? Nurses. But nurses, people feel, is fine for women to do. Now, if your best cooks in the world, your top chefs in the world can be men, can't the best surgeons in the world be women? Who says this field is for women and that field is not for women? Yeah.
I think the surgeon example hit me hard. Yeah. I had never thought about it.
Yeah. I mean, there is nothing.
Nurses do work.
They work the same hours, right? They work the same hours. They also have to be available at the beck and call of any emergency. But in nursing, you will never raise an eyebrow that a woman wants to be a nurse. Or if a man wants to be a nurse, then you'll raise an eyebrow.
Yeah.
Why? So these are all biases that play out, and that at an early age itself, you will see teachers will start, you know, discouraging certain girls to get into these kind of fields, right? Like, in fact, there's also studies that show that girls who graduate from girls' schools, they end up doing better in STEM than girls who graduate from co-ed schools. So strange, right? Yeah. The reason is because when girls are in co-ed schools, the teachers usually end up encouraging the boys more to get into STEM. Versus when girls are in all-girls school, kisi ko to encourage karna hai, so the girls get encouraged.
Thank God I was part of girls' school till class 11.
Yeah, I mean, for me, luckily, I, again had a person like my dad who said, sure, you want to study business studies, but 11 and 12, science is compulsory, you have to study. Yeah. So I was one of I think we were 10 girls in like 150 students who were studying electronic studies in their 11th and 12th. Then I was like, we were 2 girls from India who went, and say about 30 guys who went to Wharton to study for undergraduate. But also because that's the whole thing, because we hold the girls back.
You had such supportive parents, Neha. And then you stayed at home after having such
Yeah.
successful career. What were you thinking during those 3 years about your career? What was the turning point that made you make that shift?
Well, so actually, I had never ever thought I'd take a break in my career. Yeah. When I got pregnant, also, I was like, "Okay, it's fine." When I was 9 months pregnant, and at that time I told my colleagues, "Okay, fine. Once the baby comes, I'll be gone for 40 days because in Marwaris there's a 40-day japa period, and then I'll be back." So I didn't clear out my desk, nothing. Yeah, 40 days got over, so there's no way I can come back right now. Maybe 3 months. 3 months got over, and I was just like, no, there's too much going on. I don't think I can trust my baby to anybody right now. So maybe 1 year. By the time 1 year was over, I had become a raging full-time mom. Okay, I felt that everything I had to do for my baby, nobody else could do it the way I can do it. Also, my mother and my mother-in-law had always been full-time moms. So everyone, all the women around me, once they became mothers, they were full-time moms. So I really started feeling this whole expectation of society and family that became my own expectation. Like I felt that I would be doing this baby a big disservice if I wasn't there for every bath time and nap time and, sleep. Everything I had to do myself. It's only when my second son was born that for the first time I had to shift my attention from my firstborn. Till then, nothing, right? Like my day started and ended with my son. My whole routine, exactly what you said, I can relate to it. So my whole routine depended on his routine. When my second son was born, I had to shift it because you have to take care of the second child. And I realized that, the heavens haven't fallen down. He's fine. In fact, he might be better off because he doesn't have this crazy helicopter mom on his head anymore.
Yeah.
And, his relationships with other family members, including his dad, they grew. So second time around, motherhood is much easier, by the way. Point to note, okay? Because when a second baby cries, you don't think it's such a big deal. And you've learned a lot, right? Yeah. So after those 3.5 years, I finally realized one day that, there was too much frustration that had seeped in. And if I wanted to be a happy mother, I had to be a happy person, and for that I have to get back to work. But till I didn't think that this will make me a better mother, I couldn't do it. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. I really feel like sometimes when you've been an overachiever all your life, you want to be an overachiever in motherhood also. And that's sometimes, it's like everything you take on, you want to do it at the best of your abilities, right? And for me, being perfect at being a mother meant being a full-time mother. It's only when I started realizing that this is not good for my children, that's what got me back to work.
And you also mentioned that your mother was like the perfect mother to you.
My mother was a perfect mother. Oh, she's still the perfect mother, yes.
So, do you think sometimes we start competing with our own mother? That not competing, but comparing or feel like...
No, you're expecting yourself. You start expecting yourself to be the kind of mother that your mother was to you. Yeah. And my mother was always there. She was always around. And we are very, very close. Like she's like my best friend. Yeah. And so I started feeling that that's what I need to give to my children also. I just forgotten that, no, I have to be the best mother I can be to my children. I can't be the best mother my mother was to us.
Makes sense. And you have worked with Harki for more than 8 years. I would want to know about the insights you have, learned about in these last 8 years, and where do you see India in the next 10 years? Where are we as country, like women workforce participation? कहाँ पर हैं हम? कितना दूर जाना है? क्या अभी कर लिया है last 8 years में? If you can share insights.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, women participation in the Indian workforce is really dismal. Okay. We're at 20% overall and 15% in urban India. Compare that to USA, which is at 55%, China, which is at 60%. Okay. And male participation rates in India are 80%. So that itself tells you, first of all, why there's so much gender inequality in the country. Okay. Because not having financial independence leads to complete gender imbalance in the home, in families, and society. Second, it shows you actually where we can go. Because if the USA, with its unaffordable childcare and no maternity leave policies, can be at 55%, or with China can be at 60%, we have the most number of women graduates in the world. Yeah, it is just a no-brainer that we also need to get there. And frankly, now I feel like the whole country has woken up to this fact. Companies have woken up and the government has woken up. So there is a huge amount of concentrated effort being done to make sure that we get women to participate in the labor force, and not just in jobs, but even as entrepreneurs, so that the women themselves can become job creators as well. Yeah, and I really think that in the next 10 years, already in the last 8.5 years, we've seen so much change with getting women back to work. In the next 10 years, you will see so much change with women rising in their careers.
So one of the main goals at Harki is to reverse female brain drain. Like, in numbers, what has changed?
So again, the change is slow. Yeah, right now the government just published a report saying that the latest survey they have done of women participation in the Indian workforce is now at 37%. These numbers are getting verified. In fact, it was published by the Mint as well. And if that's the case, then it is a cause of great joy for all of us. If we have managed to pull up that number from 20% to 37% already, then our 50% target is not very far away. Yeah. Also, if you look at it today, out of 100 college grads, 40 of them are women, which is great. But out of 40 of them, only 10 even pursue a career. Sorry, out of 40 of them, only 8 pursue a career. And then out of those 8, 4 of them drop out within 3 years. What we are trying to do is between, first of all, 40 and 8, that drop off that happens, that to stem that itself. So that fathers are not just educating their daughters to get a good husband, they're educating their daughters to get a good career as well. Yeah. Secondly, when of course women take that break in their careers, we are never ever against the break. Yeah, if a woman needs to take a break in her career, let her take it. Okay, there's obviously some pressing need because of which she needs to take it. What we are looking at is that the 4 that drop out, how do we get them to rejoin the workplace? And that is why when it comes to our restarters, there are 2 categories. Okay, one is women who started working and stopped. And then there are women who just never started. And those are the women who we call the late starters. So a lot of learning initiatives are being put in place to get women in their 30s who are restarters or late starters to get upskilled and reskilled and join back the labor force. And hopefully that number you will be able to see from that jump from 20% to 37%.
Wow, I just wish that happens. It's not only good for all of us, it's good for economy, and overall it will really help us shatter those ceilings or norms we have set up for our women. कि आपको पास वाले ही कॉलेज में जाना है, दूर वाले में नहीं जाना, kind of thought process.
Yeah, or you can't work out of home. I mean, that also is a norm that has to break. Yeah, where so many families are like, नहीं किसी और के लिए काम नहीं करना है. Yeah, as well as there are all these big bad men in the workplace. All these myths have to really change. And the more the women will join the workplace, it's a self-confirming prophecy. More the women will join the workplace, the better the workplace will become, the easier it will be for other women to join the workplace.
Yeah. And Momfirst CEO said in one of her posts, or I think she was making a speech where she mentioned imposter syndrome is not a syndrome. It's a fault. And it's not our fault as women. It's system's fault. What do you think about that? How do we improve that system? Because what we as women can do is, we will be mindful about the guilt, that we will acknowledge that we are feeling this emotion, and now we have to find ways that how do we overcome this feeling, how do we create a support system for all of us, for us, for myself, and then I'll see how I can help other women. But system ke end pe kya required hai, like how they should or they can improve the situation?
Yeah, no, I think we have to change the way that we bring up our daughters, right? I mean, most of the times, we will tell girls to not be so bossy, or we will tell girls to be more humble, to not speak up, not voice your opinion, not speak against authority. And it's all of this that chips away at her sense of self-belief over the years. Yeah, and that is what finally leads to imposter syndrome one day, which is where women feel that no, they don't belong, or they did not deserve this achievement or this award or this accolade that they're getting, because I'm not that. So versus if we start appreciating and respecting and inspiring and motivating and pushing women, and when they're little girls itself, and tell them that, you have great leadership skills when they're being bossy, or that when we meet them in a party, we don't tell them just what a lovely dress you're wearing, but we talk to them about, what good books are you reading, or what is it that you want to do later on in life, which doesn't include only managing the home. All these things will instill a sense of self-belief in girls at an early age. And then when they achieve it, they'll feel like, of course, we've achieved it. That was my plan all along.
Yeah, I think I have learned a lot from this conversation. And Neha, just one last question I have. You have been working with lots of organizations and large corporates who get where these women get placed with. How do you pitch them?
Well, good question, actually, because that was something that we really changed the rules of the game when we started. Okay, when I started, I realized that a lot of companies were going around telling these companies that, you need to hire women from a social goodwill point of view, or, from a CSR point of view. And I was just like, what? I mean, this is not a charity case, okay? You don't hire women because you're doing them a favor. You're hiring women because, and especially women returnees, because they have the experience, they have the qualifications, they have a fire in their bellies to prove themselves again, and they'll join you at no notice period. Yeah. So the way we pitched the power of the women talent pool was very different. Yeah. I mean, if a company ever told me to speak to the CSR department for hiring, I was just like, I don't get it. I need to speak to your talent acquisition. I need to speak to your HR. Okay. And once we made them realize the value and the power of that pool, then not only were they willing to hire women returnees, they were willing to pay us to hire women returnees.
The companies were hiring for CSR initiative.
So they were being told that that's why you should hire women. Yeah, because it's a good thing to do for society. And we said, no, it's a good thing to do for your bottom line.
And what has been the worst experience working with the organizations that makes it so challenging, like the work so challenging for you?
Well, so many, right? But for every one bad case, there have been 10 good cases also. But the bad cases have been just shocking. Like in the beginning, the number of companies that felt comfortable to tell us that we don't want to hire mothers, or we don't want to hire women returnees. Where they said that, I said, why would you not want to hire mothers? Okay. Because I myself, by the way, my starting team were pretty much, they were all women returnees. Even today, 80% of my team are mothers. Yeah. And they said, we had hired a mother, but then she couldn't manage and she left. So we decided never to hire mothers again. And I was like, has no male employee ever left you? And then did you decide to never hire a man again? I mean, what kind of decisions are these? Yeah. Or somebody told me once that we don't want to have women returnees because we don't want to hire kitty party women. Yeah. Or we've been told that we don't want to hire women returnees because we have a age criteria, and they'll be too old to hire. So people are
like they're thinking about everything else but work.
And exactly. And this is exactly what we turned it around to. And we turn it around for women also, where we told them focus on your skills.
And I think there is one reason why I think mothers who are returning to work can be the better solutions or better employees or colleagues, because they are more mindful of their times and priorities in life.
That I agree with you. Okay, because they say if you want something done, give it to a really busy mother.
Yes.
Because
I'm much more mindful
the
about
amount of stuff
time.
you get done in a day is incredible, and the more you have to do, the more you will get done.
Yeah. And I feel bad about myself sometimes that I don't have a life. I'm always working. But I then think about my life before Kabir or before marriage. I was wasting my time all the time. I still had 24 hours and now still have 24 hours. And इतना ज़्यादा काम हो जाता है
So
अब.
there's a very good quote for that. It says that my hands are full, but so is my heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful quote. Thank you so much, Neha, for joining me
All
today.
right. It was lovely chatting with you. Thank you for
I
for
learned a
hosting.
lot from this conversation. I hope our audience also will relate with you and they will have so much to learn from you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.